right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Grant Informational Webinar. I am Chandra Boyd, Deputy Director for the Oklahoma Arts Council, the official state agency for the support and development of the arts in Oklahoma. I've been with the agency a little over 7 years, and I am proud to have been involved in the initial development of the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Initiative, which our agency launched in 2015. On the webinar today, we have our newly appointed Arts Learning and Communities Director, Erica Wilhite, Grants Director, Thomas Tran, Grants and Programs Assistant, Heidi Costello, and Web and Publications Director, Scott Cowan. Can each of you start by telling a little bit about yourselves and your roles at the agency? Erica, why don't you go first?
Hi there. I'm Erica Wilhite. I have recently joined the agency as the Arts Learning and Communities Director. I'll be overseeing this grant, the Arts and Military Grant, as well as other initiatives which are designed to support community-based arts education.
Thanks, Erica. Thomas.
Hi, everyone. This is Thomas Tran. I'm the Grants Director here at Oklahoma Arts Council. In my role, I oversee our agency's grant programs. With Heidi Costello in the Grants Office and the rest of our team, we work together to develop grant programs and review grant applications, find opportunities for innovation and growth through public investment for the arts, and provide guidance and technical support for our applicants and grantees as they apply for funding.
Thanks, Thomas. Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Costello, and I serve as a Grants and Programs Assistant. I've been with the agency for 2 years now, and I serve in helping all organizations help them with any questions that they have as they're gaining access to our system, and then also connect them to our program directors to learn more about all of our different grant programs and then any other programs that we have in the agency. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And Scott.
Hello, my name is Scott Cowan. Like Chandra said, I'm the Web and Publications Director. I've been with the agency for about 20 years, and I do lots of miscellaneous things. Today, my job will be to keep this thing running, hopefully. So.
Thanks, Scott. We couldn't do it without you. All right. Well, just real quickly, I'd like to provide a little bit of Zoom housekeeping for those of you joining us on the webinar. So in the upper right corner of your Zoom screen, you have the option to click on View, and that gives you a few drop-down options, including the standard view, side-by-side view with the speaker, or side-by-side view with the gallery, as well as full screen. So feel free to optimize your view as you need and participate. Also, just so you know, all the participants on the webinar are muted, but if you have any questions, you can go down to the bottom of your Zoom screen and click on the Q&A box, and that will pop up and you can put some questions in there. Heidi will be monitoring that Q&A and we'll direct those questions over to our staff. So again, we are so thrilled to have you here with us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Erica to get us started.
Okay, thank you, Chandra. We'll just take a look at the agenda first. So what we have coming up today, we'll have Thomas, who will provide a brief overview of our agency's grants programs. Next, Chandra will offer a bit of context and history of the Oklahoma Arts Council Arts in the Military Initiative. After that, we'll walk through all the steps detailing how to apply for the Arts in the Military grant. And then a Q&A will follow the grant information, as well as our contact information for the staff here. And that is our webinar at a glance. And so you know, again, the webinar is being recorded, and this recording will be available on the website soon. So with that, I'll hand it over to Thomas.
Hi again, everyone. Just so you all know about Oklahoma Arts Council grant programs, Oklahoma Arts Council is the state government agency for the support and development of the arts in Oklahoma. So throughout our 55 years of experience, we've implemented numerous programs and initiatives to kind of establish the arts as a big force in the state. And to support this vision and this mission, one of the most important things that we do is ensure that every Oklahoman has access to arts and cultural activities and experiences. In the past year, 66% of our agency's budget was invested directly into communities across the state through our grant programs. That's more than $2.3 million that went to more than 250 organizations and schools across our entire state. That's from Miami to Broken Bow to Altus to Guyman and everywhere in between, all to support arts programming. Next slide, please. So we are able to provide support to several different organization types. They are 501c3 nonprofit organizations. This could be arts or non-arts 501c3s, K through 12 schools, which include public schools, private schools, charter schools, and non-religious schools, public libraries, colleges and universities, and also other agencies of government, such as tribal, municipal, and state government. Next slide. Grant programs. We've expanded our grant programs in the past few years to meet the diverse needs of our states and also to respond to different opportunities for growth and advancement. All of our grant programs have their own distinct goals, eligibility criteria, and different deadlines spanning across the year. We promote these grant opportunities through our website as well as our newsletter. And if you follow us on our social media accounts, we promote them there as well. This is a list of some of our grant programs on the screen. We have special grant programs for schools, since education is a top priority for the state and for our agency. Our school programs have special initiatives, incentives like lower matches or no match requirements to encourage more schools to take advantage of these opportunities. We also provide grant opportunities for arts and non-arts organizations, and they can apply for project-based grants and small grant support and major grant support to support different arts and cultural activities throughout the year. This usually means that our funds can enable an organization to hire professional musicians to perform as a music festival, or to bring in an author to a library to talk about the creative writing process. So many different programs possible through these grant programs. In the past year, we also provided emergency support through our grants. The Oklahoma CARES grant, as well as the Oklahoma Arts and Cultural Industry Relief Grant, was able to provide the field with COVID-19 pandemic response in support with the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as the CARES Act. We were able to provide emergency relief funds to more than 170 nonprofit arts organizations across the states to help offset the financial impact as a result of the pandemic. Next slide, please. All right, I will hand it off to Chandra.
All right, thank you, Thomas, for that great overview of our grants. So as I mentioned earlier, the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Initiative launched in 2015 as a strategic effort directed at meeting the needs of Oklahoma's military community through the arts. With the military community representing nearly 10% of the state's residents, this initiative allows the Oklahoma Arts Council to extend the reach of its programs to a meaningful segment of the population that has specific needs meriting our support. The initiative is aimed at serving active duty service members, reservists, National Guard members, family members, and caregivers. Through a partnership with the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs and the Norman Firehouse Arts Center, and with the support of Mid-America Arts Alliance, we began the initiative with a pilot program at the Norman Veterans Center. Engaging Veterans Through Creative Expression is an evaluation catalog of the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Initiative pilot program that can be found on our website, and we'll drop a link to that document in the chat. This publication includes the assessment of that first year pilot that we did in Norman, along with helpful tools and best practices for leading your own Arts in the Military programming. In addition, we held a pilot at the Lawton Fort Sill Veterans Center, along with 2 summit events that helped to build capacity in the arts and military sectors. Most recently, we launched the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Grant Program to empower organizations statewide to serve military-connected individuals through the arts. Next slide, please. This initiative is an important part of our mission to lead, cultivate, and amplify the transformative power of the arts for all Oklahomans and their communities. This is our newly adopted mission that we're really excited about. So we wanted to be sure to share that with you. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Erica, and she's going to get into some of the more specifics of this grant.
Thank you, Chandra. All right, so here are some project dates at a glance. These are key dates to remember. The grant cycle is from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The deadline is September 15th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Central Time, and that's the deadline to get the grant in. And then looking at the timeline of this project, applications have been open. They're open now. It's due September 15th. You'll hear about the award notifications in October. And again, those activity dates must fall within July 1st to June 30th. Your final reports will be due at the conclusion of all the project activities or by July 30th, 2022. So the goals for the program are to create more opportunities for military connected individuals to meaningfully engage with the arts, and to build capacity among Oklahoma organizations to offer arts programs for military connected participants. And so the grant is up to $5,000 per organization, and it can support different types of projects. You can see here that the award match does require a 1-to-1 match. The payments are reimbursed. They are for learning-based arts programs, audience-based arts programs, and capacity building programs. So workshops, classes, exhibits, performances. And then it is key that every program has a very strong arts component. And of course, you must primarily serve military connected individuals. And I hand it over to Thomas to talk about the application process.
Thank you, Erica. Hi, everyone. This is just a glance at what the application process looks like, outlined on the screen there. So the first step is to submit an application. You can do this by going to our website at arts.ok.gov and going to the grants page, logging into the grant system and starting an application. If you do not have access to the grant system, we will talk about that later in the presentation with Heidi Costello, our grants and programs assistant. Once you are in there and you submit an application by the deadline, your application will be reviewed by a panel. After that happens, we will assess your application, and after we determine award amounts, we'll send out an award notification in July 2021. And once you receive that award notification, we ask that you review the grant's terms and conditions, as well as the contract, accept the contract if that is all right with your organization, and then you can conduct your project. You can reach out to us at any time during that process, and we can provide support. If you have any questions about managing your grant award, you can contact us here at the grants office. But after your project occurs and you conclude all of its activities, then you will be able to log into the grant system and submit a final report. Once that final report is submitted, then we will be able to review that report and issue a grant payment. So this is just a really quick at a glance for you. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us for help. Next is the grant application. So we will be diving into the grant application, looking at all of the questions that will be asked. I'm going to start off this section and then looking at your organizational questions, and then I'll hand it off to Erica, who will jump in with you for the program-based questions. All right, so once you start an application in the grant system, the first questions that you'll see is asking about your organization. Please update your organization's information. This information might be preloaded based on your previous application submissions, but take a look over it. And if there are any modifications or changes, please make them here. We're going to ask you to enter your organization's mission, describe your organization and its histories, the people that you serve, enter your number of board members, and then enter your DUNS number. Next slide, please. The next step is reviewing the legal assurances. We also call these the general grant terms and conditions. Please take a look at these stipulations. If you were to be awarded a grant from Oklahoma Arts Council, you also agree to abide by any of the general grant terms that are outlined here in the legal assurances, as well as the terms in your grant contract. So on the screen, you can see just some highlights of the legal assurances. This is not the full legal assurances, but I'll just quickly go over these with you. You are required to abide by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, the Education Amendment of 1962, Title IX, Drug-Free Workplace Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA, the Age Discrimination Act of 1975, and you also agree to hold on to any records and retentions of this grant award for up to 7 years. We do not allow the use of our grant funds to support anything that is related to any religious affiliation. And by submitting an application, you agree that everything that you submit in the application is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge. All right, I'll hand it off to Erica.
Thank you. Okay, so next I'm going to walk us through 3 parts of the application: project information, the budget, and the project narratives. The project information, so you will enter a title for your project. Also, you will tell us how many people will be involved and how many people will be directly served by this grant, how many years this particular project has taken place. And next, the budget. All expenses must be related to the project, and you can take a look at here at these budget items that you could have for expenses. This information is all included on the website, as well as other grant details. And in terms of the in-kind contribution, it is a fair market value for donated non-monetary goods or services. These contributions may be services, supplies, or discounts, and they may be made to your organization by an outside entity. And looking at the income for your project, all income must be specific to this proposed project. And you list cash on hand, the ticket income, describe how you calculated the income, government support, do not include any anticipated grant funds from the Oklahoma Arts Council, and describe any other sources of income, corporate sponsorships, foundations, private donations. And next, this is what it looks like in the application. This is your budget. Now the budget narrative, this is where you'll describe how you're going to use the money. List specific items with dollar amounts. The total amount must be equal to the requested amount. And what the grant can support. It can support artistic, administrative, and technical fees, consultant and facilitator fees, consumable supplies, marketing expenses, rental fees, artist travel fees. And what the grant doesn't cover, capital expenses, creation of new permanent artwork, fundraisers, events not open to the public. And for a full list of unallowable expenses, please visit our website. All right, so required outcomes. Funded projects, they must address at least one or more of the following anticipated outcomes. It must provide opportunities to military-connected individuals who are artists. It must offer meaningful benefits to military-connected individuals. And it could offer or build capacity for organizations to lead successful arts and military projects. And it should actively include diverse military communities. So meeting one or all of these required outcomes. Now your project narratives, this is where you tell the story about your project and you'll describe it. And so we'll be asking who will be your primary audience. How does this program meet the needs? There are 4 parts of this grant application that require a narrative response. And so I encourage you to be very concise in your responses and very thorough. In the project description, think about the where, the when, the who, the what, and the how of your project. And consider that the reviewers may not be familiar with your community or your organization. And under key project artists, please list any artistic personnel with whom you plan to contract during this project. And below that, the goals and outcomes that we referred to on the previous slide, those are also available for your convenience. And so then finally, how do you plan to evaluate your project? And those are the parts of the application that require some narrative. And I'm going to hand it over to Heidi to talk about the login request.
Thank you. Yeah, so just looking through our list of attendees, I'm excited to see some new names and then also some returning names. So for some of this might be just, you all are professionals on this. So you've got this is part down. For our new individuals, how we work this is that you, if you're in a new organization to our grant system, or if it has been more than 3 years since you have come in for funding, we ask that you go through this login request process. And so what you do is you click on this link and it'll direct you to our webpage, which will have you fill out information about your organization, and then also have you upload some organizational documents. So if we can go to the next slide, I can show you what that looks like. This is what the page will look like. Right here at the bottom, it'll say for the different organizations. So these list of documents are what your organization will need to provide if you are a 501c3. If you are a government entity or a state entity, you will only need to provide the authorizing official approval form. But if you are a 501c3, then we will direct you to this list of documents that you'll need to upload. It takes a little bit of time just to get all the documents in and for our office to process these requests. But once we get them in, then once you log in, you'll be able to see which different types of grant programs your organization is eligible for. Let me see if I believe that's all I had to cover. So with that, if you have any questions, you can just direct them to us as you're processing that. And then I will also address some of these questions in our Q&A section. I'll turn it over to Thomas for grant award management.
Thank you, Heidi. So grant award management, we mentioned earlier that we will be reviewing these grant applications after the deadline on September 15th, and we will be sending out award notifications in October 2021. So if you do receive an award notification from our grants office, this acts as your official notification package. What this means is that everything that you will need to manage your grant award is going to be in this email. So keep an eye out for that. Both your authorizing official and your grant contact will receive this email with all your instructions in there. The first step is to review all the information in the package to make sure that your organization is understanding and is all right with all of the terms. And if all of that sounds good, then your authorizing official will then log in to the grant system and accept the grant contract on behalf of your organization. From there, you can conduct your programming. If you have questions, again, reach out to us with any questions, concerns, if there are any project changes, or if anything else comes up. Please give us a call or shoot us an email. That communication is really crucial as you are working on your project and managing this grant. Again, all the details that you will need is located in the award notification email. You can also visit our website on the Arts in the Military Grant Program page. We have support documents and resources on there for you to help you manage the award as well. Please keep in mind that this grant is a reimbursement grant. So we are asking for you to log into the grant system and file an online final report. After your project activity ends, you will need to submit that final report and any required support material in order for us to review that and initiate your grant payment. All of your project activities will need to be concluded when you do log in to complete this final report. So as Erica said earlier, looking at the timeline for this grant program, You can submit your final report after all of your activities have concluded, or if your activity spans our entire grant period, your final report will be due by July the 30th, 2022. And if you have any questions about the management of your award, please feel free to contact me or contact the grant office. Our number and email address is on the screen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. At this moment, I would like to direct you all to put in your questions in this Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It's the very far right button. It has two little message bubbles. And as we go through, I will start directing our questions that we have so far. All right, so we have a question that says, if we could expand on the grant match requirement portion of this grant program. And I'll let either Thomas or Erica answer that.
I could take that question. Thank you for that question. So it was, what does it mean, grant match? Can you expand upon that? So all of our grants for this grant program, we require a one-to-one match. Half of the match may be in-kind support. So when we talk about a match requirement, it's also called a cost share. We ask that the organization build into their budgets an equivalent amount. So when you're building your budgets, let's say, for example, you're building a project that has a $5,000 total budget and you're seeking a $2,500 grant award, if you're seeking $2,500 for a grant award, we would need to see that you are contributing $2,500 of your own organization's cash to the project, totaling that $5,000 total project. And this $2,500 match requirement can either be the cash that your organization has on hand, or it could also be any contributed cash, any donations. And in this case, half of that could also be in-kind support.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you for that question. All right. The next question is, if we are an artist and want to connect with a 501c3 to provide such an arts program, do you have a list of those in Oklahoma? So where can we find that list of organizations?
I could probably take that question. I could be helpful in helping find those organizations in your community. As far as a comprehensive list that's already ready to go, I think I'm making that now. But I'm happy to talk to you further about which organizations to partner with the project. So my contact information will be coming up again. There it is. So give me a call, send me an email, and we'll talk.
Thank you. Alrighty, and then we have a question to please go into more detail of the in-kind donations. So what could those look like?
I could take that. So an in-kind donation is a goods or service donated to the organization, and that value represents that value represents in-kind in your budget. So that could be in-kind could be for a venue donation where you present or hold your workshops. It could be donations of food for an event. Again, if you have any questions about your particular idea on in-kind contributions, reach out and we can help you clarify it.
Thank you. And then we have a question that says, does the program have to be in our area, or can we go outside to have a larger audience?
If it is in your area in the state of Oklahoma, and I'll ask my coworkers on the call to correct me if I'm wrong, but this will, this grant, you can present or perform or work outside of your community. As far as outside of the state, Thomas or Heidi, not outside of the state. All right. And if that does not answer your question, then feel free to follow up in the Q&A or send me an email or give me a phone call.
Thank you. And then, okay, sounds good. All right. The next question we have is, do you need to have endorsement letters for this grant?
I can take that question. So we don't require any letters of support during the application phase, but if you are awarded a grant, and one of the supporting materials that we require for your final report is that we do ask for you to write thank you letters to your organization, state legislators, and senator on the program. And more information about that will be included in your award notification package. But upfront during the application phase, we do not require any of those pieces.
Thanks, Thomas. Oh, these are great questions, everyone. All right, so we have I lost it. Okay, it says, I'm concerned that we would be asking artists to provide services without any compensation until the final report is approved. This could be months after the work is done. That is a great concern, and that is a good question that we get all the time.
I can take that question. Thank you, Heidi. Yes, that is a really great point. So with these grants, unfortunately, they are all reimbursement grants. So we are unable to pay for these services until all of the services are rendered and complete and the final report is submitted. So it's up to your organization to figure out a payment plan with the artists and with the contractors that you are working with and what works best for them. But just with the nature of this grant, we are unable to provide payments throughout the life. It has to be at the end after the inclusion of all the activities.
Thank you. And then we have for primarily served military community. It keeps moving. There are a few schools in the Enid Public Schools that serve the majority of the military students from Vance Air Force Base. However, they do not make up the majority of students in the overall school. Would they qualify?
Yes, they would qualify.
Great. Yes, we love to support schools and arts education. So they would also qualify whether they're coming in as a school or whether they're coming in and you're serving them from different organizations in that area. Great question. Alrighty. And then the sample budget listed a facilitator with a fee amount of $1,000. Is this a reasonable reflection of the number of hours required to manage this grant? Ooh, that's a great question.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Oh, go ahead, Erica.
Well, I would say that it really depends on the work you're doing with that consultant. So I think it's just an example. And if you had questions about how much that kind of work could cost or who to consult, then we can talk about that further. But I do believe that is just a placeholder example with not any kind of attached hours to it. Am I right about that, Thomas?
Yes, that's correct, Erica. It's really up to your organization and the people you're contracting with to determine what the best rate is. What's provided on the screen is just an example to show how a budget looks once you input it into the system, but it's up to you on what you want to arrange with your artists and contractors.
Thank you. Alrighty, and then I am answering this as we are going, but the question is, how long does it take to receive artist payment once the program is finished? So my response is, once the final report is submitted, all of the parts of it, we say that it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for payment to process through the state purchasing systems. Now that can be a little bit sooner if you are already registered with as a state vendor and set up with direct deposit. But we like to say about 4 to 6 weeks for it to fully process from your time of submitting it to it going through the state purchasing and processing systems. The next question is, this is following up on a previous question for clarification about the need to be in state. Does the artist we contract with need to come from Oklahoma, or can we bring someone in from out of state to exhibit/teach?
Yes, you can. You can bring in someone from out of state.
Alrighty. And then is there a range of appropriate fees on an hourly basis for artist fees, for examples, to teach a class? And I think probably to follow up, like how long the classes would have to be as well.
Yes, well, we do not make any kind of recommendations on the structure of your class. The rate of pay is also at your discretion. Chandra, historically, I know that there's a standard for teaching artists, but is that something that we provide as a guidepost?
Yeah, I would say that that amount has shifted over the years, and I'm not aware that there is like a standard going rate for teaching artists. However, I think the artist and the organization would just need to work together to identify what those costs might be based on the number of hours. Like if it's a class and they're teaching over a certain period of time, like what that hourly rate might work out to. But we usually leave that to the individual artists and organizations to negotiate.
All right, thank you. The next question is, if a room needs to be rented for the activity, is there an appropriate fee for a rental of a space?
I think that's the same situation. It just depends on your arrangement with that venue.
Thank you. And I know that that's one of the other examples for the in-kind expenses, if you are getting that donated instead. So if that room would have come with a rental fee, but instead that venue is giving you that room for free or for a discount, that could also go towards your in-kind amounts. Good questions, everyone. Alrighty, and then I have a question that says, if I am still getting my 501c3 set up, can I still apply? Chandra, would you like to take this one?
Sure. So unfortunately, the organization has to already be established as a 501c3. One of the supporting documents that we require in that login request process and eligibility review is a copy of your letter, your determination letter that's issued by the IRS for your 501c3 status. So you would need to be established as a 501c3 with the IRS, as well as incorporated in the state of Oklahoma as a domestic not-for-profit corporation. So those are two items that if you are not currently working on your incorporation in the state, I encourage you to work on that as well. And then yes, you would need to have that 501c3 letter submitted with your request for login.
All right, awesome questions. And then one of the last questions I have is it possible to get a copy of these slides? So that's a perfect segue.
That's a great question. Thanks so much. So a recording of this webinar will be made available on the Oklahoma Arts in the Military Grant Program webpage on our website at arts.ok.gov. On there, you can already find links to resources such as the Arts in the Military Grant Program overview, program guidelines document, as well as an application preview document. In these two documents, you can find all the information that you need that were included in these slides as well. So all of that is already on the website for you, and we'll be posting a link to this recording on a later date.
Do we have, oh, I think I have one last question if we have time. All right, it says, if laptops are needed for a writing class, could the cost to purchase a laptop be an acceptable expense? What about renting computers? Could the rental of computers be an okay expense?
That's
Yes.
No and yes.
And that is a good question. It is, you can use the grant to either rent or purchase them.
Not
And
purchase.
Thomas, did you wanted to say no purchasing, just to rent them? Thank you, Thomas. How about you elaborate?
Thank you. So you can use these grant funds to rent any rental that is needed. But as far as supplies and equipment is concerned, you can use the grant for consumable supplies. Consumable meaning that it will be used up within the date of the project. This could be any art materials like any paint, canvases. If it's music related, it could be like rosin or tuners. Or reads, but as far as permanent supplies or permanent equipment, such as laptops or musical instruments, unfortunately, this grant cannot support the purchase of equipment like that. Only consumable supplies or rentals.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone. And of course, at arts.ok.gov, you can find more information about this grant and other programs that we offer at the Oklahoma Arts Council. We are here to help how we can. So Heidi is the best person to talk to about your login request. You can contact me, Erica, with questions about your project and about writing and submitting the grant application. And you can contact Thomas with questions about managing your grant award. Now, a link should appear at the end of this webinar, so please take a few minutes to complete the survey. Your feedback will help us for the future, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you for attending, and happy grant writing, everyone.